Nathan had been in Toronto for less than 2 hours when he decided the whole Canadian winter thing was probably exaggerated. He sat inside a small café near a busy downtown street, hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee, watching the snow fall outside the large window like tiny white feathers. Wow! This is actually kind of perfect, he said, leaning back in his chair. Across the table, his friend Claire lifted an eyebrow. You've been here 1 hour. Nathan shrugged and laughed. Yeah, but look at it. This is like movie winter. Outside, people walked along the sidewalk while snow drifted quietly through the air. The streetlights reflected softly off the ground, and the whole scene looked like a postcard. Nathan pulled out his phone and aimed it toward the window. Hold on, don't move, he said. Claire frowned. Why would I move? Because I'm taking an aesthetic winter photo. She rolled her eyes. You've been watching too many travel videos. Nathan snapped the picture and grinned. Look at that. That's perfect. Americans pay money to see snow like this. Claire leaned forward to see the photo. Huh. Okay. Yeah, that does look nice. Nathan took a sip of coffee and nodded confidently. Honestly, winter here seems pretty chill. Claire laughed. Pretty chill? That's your analysis after one coffee? Nathan pointed toward the window again. I mean, look, people are just walking around, no big deal. Outside, a man passed the cafe window wearing a massive coat that looked thick enough to survive Antarctica. Nathan tilted his head. Okay, that coat might be slightly dramatic. Claire smirked. Slightly? Nathan laughed. All right, fine, maybe Canadians are just really into winter fashion. At the counter nearby, the barista overheard them and smiled. You guys visiting? Nathan turned in his chair. Yeah, first day in Canada. The barista nodded slowly. Enjoying the winter? Nathan raised his coffee like a toast. So far, 10 out of 10. The barista chuckled. Give it a few hours. Nathan laughed. Why does everyone keep saying that? The barista wiped the counter and shrugged. You'll see. Nathan exchanged a glance with Claire. Claire whispered. That sounded slightly ominous. Nathan waved it off. Nah. People always exaggerate weather. He looked outside again. The snow had started falling a little heavier now, covering the sidewalk in a smooth white layer. Nathan smiled. Seriously, though, it's beautiful. Claire nodded. Yeah, it is. Nathan leaned closer to the window, watching a group of locals walk past. Something caught his attention. Wait! Claire looked up. What? Nathan pointed outside. Why is everyone walking so fast? Claire squinted toward the sidewalk. A woman hurried past wrapped in a thick scarf. Behind her, another person walked quickly with their shoulders slightly hunched. Nathan frowned. That's weird. Claire shrugged. It's cold? Nathan shook his head. No, but look, nobody's strolling. Everyone's like, speed walking. He watched another passerby hurry down the street. Maybe Canadians are just very efficient pedestrians. Claire laughed. That's a theory. Nathan leaned back in his chair again and stretched his arms. Well, whatever. We'll go explore after this. Claire looked out the window again. You sure? Nathan nodded confidently. Yeah, we're Americans. We know winter. He gestured toward the snowy street like he had already figured it out. Snow, jackets, hot coffee, that's basically it. Claire smiled slowly. Okay. Nathan raised his cup again and took another sip. Outside, the snow continued to fall quietly. From inside the warm cafe, Canadian winter still looked peaceful, almost magical. Nathan watched it for another moment and said with a grin, Honestly, I don't see what the big deal is. Nathan pushed the cafe door open with the same relaxed confidence he had been carrying all morning. All right, he said, stepping toward the sidewalk. Let's see some Canadian winter. Claire followed right behind him. The door swung shut. The cold hit instantly. Nathan froze mid-step. Whoa! The air felt sharp, not just cold, sharp. He blinked rapidly and pulled his head slightly back like someone had just blown freezing air straight into his face. Wait. Claire stopped beside him and inhaled. Then she coughed. Wow. Nathan took another breath and immediately understood something was different. The cold didn't just sit on your skin, it went straight into your lungs. Okay, he said slowly. That's colder than expected. Claire rubbed her hands together. Yeah, no kidding. Nathan looked around the street. The snow that looked soft and romantic from inside the cafe now felt very real under his sneakers. Crunch. He shifted his weight. Crunch. Claire glanced down at his shoes. You wore sneakers. Nathan looked down too. Yeah? Claire pointed to a man walking past them wearing massive insulated boots. Everyone else did not wear sneakers. Nathan shrugged. Boots seem a little aggressive. Just then, a gust of wind blew down the street. Nathan's reaction was immediate. Whoa! He turned sideways instinctively as the wind sliced through his jacket. That wind just went through my soul. Claire laughed nervously. Yeah, I felt that. Nathan zipped his jacket all the way up. Okay, that helped a little. They began walking down the sidewalk. Within about 10 seconds, Nathan felt his ears getting cold. Not cool. Cold. Like the temperature was slowly stealing the warmth out of them. He pulled his hood up. Claire glanced at him. Still think winter here is chill? Nathan gave a small defensive laugh. Relax, we just stepped outside. A group of locals walked past them quickly. Nathan noticed something again. Everyone was moving with purpose. Nobody was wandering casually. Wait, he said. Why does everyone walk like they're late for something? Claire shrugged. Maybe they're cold? Nathan nodded slowly. That might actually make sense. He pulled his phone out to check the temperature. The screen lit up. 8 degrees. Nathan blinked. Wait. Claire leaned over. What? Nathan showed her the screen. Claire squinted. Is that real? Nathan looked around like the phone might be lying. -18? Claire frowned. That's Celsius. Nathan stared at the number again. Okay, but what is that in normal temperature? Claire thought for a second. Like 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Nathan's eyebrows shot up. 0? He shoved the phone back into his pocket quickly as his fingers started tingling. Okay, wow. They kept walking. Within another 30 seconds, Nathan noticed something else. His nose felt strange. Not painful. Just numb. He touched it. Wait. Claire looked at him. What now? Nathan tapped the tip of his nose. I can't feel my nose. Claire stared at him. You're joking. Nathan shook his head. I'm serious. She touched her own nose. No. Nathan laughed nervously. Haha, that's new. Another gust of wind pushed snow lightly across the sidewalk. Nathan hunched his shoulders. Wow. Claire looked down at the icy sidewalk carefully. Also, this is slippery. Nathan took another step. His foot slid slightly. Whoa. He caught himself quickly. Claire pointed at the ground. See? Nathan exhaled slowly. Okay. This is different. The snow wasn't soft anymore. It had been compacted into a thin, icy layer. Another local walked past them, completely relaxed, carrying groceries like this weather meant nothing. Nathan watched him go. Seriously? Claire laughed. That guy looks totally fine. Nathan rubbed his hands together. I think my fingers are freezing. Claire nodded. Mine too. Nathan glanced back toward the cafe they had just left. The warm lights inside suddenly looked extremely inviting. He tilted his head slightly. Claire noticed. You're thinking about going back inside. Nathan shook his head quickly. No. Then another cold gust of wind hit them. Nathan winced. Maybe briefly. Claire burst out laughing. 10 minutes. Nathan sighed. Yeah. He looked down the snowy street again, then back at the cafe door. Okay. He exhaled slowly. Now I see why everyone was speedwalking. About 30 minutes later, Nathan and Claire had retreated into a small winter clothing shop a few blocks away. The blast of warm air inside the store felt like stepping into a completely different world. Nathan rubbed his hands together quickly. Oh, wow. That feels amazing. Claire nodded while stomping her feet lightly. I couldn't feel my toes. Nathan laughed. Same. They both looked around the shop. Every wall was covered with thick coats, boots, gloves, hats, scarves, and things Nathan had never even seen before. Claire picked up a heavy jacket from a rack. This thing weighs like 10 pounds. Nathan lifted another one. Why are these coats built like military armor? A woman nearby overheard them and smiled. You'll understand once you go back outside. Nathan chuckled. That seems to be the theme of the day. He glanced at the tag on the jacket. Wait, this coat is rated for -30? Claire blinked. -30 what? Nathan looked at her slowly. Degrees. Claire stared at the coat. Why would anyone need that? From behind the counter, a man in his 40s laughed. You two from the States? Nathan nodded. Is it that obvious? The man gestured toward Nathan's sneakers. Little bit. Nathan looked down at his shoes again and sighed. Yeah, I've been getting that reaction all morning. Claire held up a pair of thick boots. These look serious. The man nodded. Those are winter boots. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Aren't all boots winter boots? The man chuckled. No. He walked over and picked up the pair Claire was holding. These are insulated, waterproof, grip soles for ice. Nathan leaned closer. Grip soles? The man pointed at the bottom. So you don't fall every 5 minutes. Nathan looked down at the icy sidewalk through the shop window. That sounds useful. Claire laughed. You almost fell earlier. Nathan shrugged. That was a minor slip. The man grinned. First Canadian winter? Nathan nodded. First hour of Canadian winter. The man crossed his arms. Well, rule number 1. Nathan tilted his head. There are rules. The man nodded toward Nathan's jacket. That coat is not enough. Nathan looked down at his jacket. It's a pretty good jacket. The man smiled patiently. It's a good fall jacket. Nathan blinked. Fall? Claire burst out laughing. Nathan groaned. Seriously? The man walked over to another rack and pulled out a thick parka. Try this. Nathan lifted it. Whoa. Claire watched as he slid it on. The coat immediately swallowed half his body. Nathan moved his arms slowly. I feel like a marshmallow. Claire laughed. Turn around. Nathan turned. How do I look? Claire nodded approvingly. Like someone who might survive outside. Nathan grinned. I'll take it. The man pointed toward another section. You'll want gloves too. Nathan waved his hands. I've got pockets. The man shook his head. Pockets won't save you. Nathan laughed. All right, gloves then. Claire grabbed a thick knit hat and tossed it to him. And this. Nathan caught it. A hat? Claire stared at him. Yes, a hat. Nathan slowly pulled it over his head. Claire nodded. Better. Nathan looked in the mirror. I barely recognize myself. The man behind the counter smiled. That's Canadian winter gear. Nathan flexed his arms inside the massive coat. Okay, I see now. Claire raised an eyebrow. See what? Nathan gestured toward the window where locals walked past in similar gear. They're not dressing like that for fashion. Claire laughed. Nope. Nathan exhaled slowly. This is survival clothing. The man nodded approvingly. Exactly. Nathan adjusted the sleeves of the parka. Well? He looked toward the snowy street outside again. Round 2. Nathan pushed the shop door open again. This time he stepped outside wearing the enormous parka, thick gloves, a wool hat, and boots that looked like they belonged on a mountain expedition. He paused for a second. Huh. Claire stepped out behind him, now bundled up in a heavy coat and scarf. Nathan blinked a few times. Okay. Claire looked at him. What? Nathan shrugged slightly. That's actually way better. Claire laughed. Yeah, winter gear works. Nathan flexed his gloved hands. I can feel my fingers. They began walking down the street again, But this time, Nathan noticed something he hadn't before. A loud engine noise echoed from the end of the road. Wait. Claire turned. What's that? A massive yellow truck rolled slowly down the street. Snow sprayed off the side of it. Nathan pointed. Whoa. Claire squinted. Oh, that's a snowplow. Nathan stared at the machine clearing the road. Seriously? The blade at the front pushed snow neatly to the side of the street. Nathan watched in fascination. That thing is just bulldozing the snow. Claire nodded. Yeah. Nathan shook his head slowly. Okay, that's impressive. The truck passed them, leaving the road behind it mostly clear. Nathan glanced around. Wait a second. Claire followed his gaze. What? Nathan pointed down the sidewalk. People were brushing snow off their cars using long brushes. One man stood beside his car carefully sweeping the roof. Nathan frowned. Why is he cleaning the roof? Claire shrugged. I don't know. Nathan watched the man brush off another pile of snow. Is that required or something? They walked closer. Nathan finally asked. Hey, quick question. The man paused mid-sweep. Yeah? Nathan pointed toward the car roof. Why are you cleaning the top? The man laughed. You don't want that flying off while driving? Nathan blinked. Flying off? The man nodded. If you stop suddenly, all that snow slides forward onto your windshield. Nathan imagined it. Whoa. Claire winced. That sounds terrifying. The man continued brushing the car. And if it flies onto the car behind you, they won't be happy. Nathan nodded slowly. Okay, that makes sense. They continued walking. Another thing caught Nathan's attention. The sidewalk looked strangely gritty. He looked down. Claire noticed. What? Nathan pointed to the ground. What's this stuff? Claire crouched slightly. It looks like salt. Right then, a woman walking past heard them. It is salt. Nathan looked up. Oh, she smiled. It melts the ice. Nathan nodded slowly. That's why the sidewalk isn't slippery. The woman continued walking. Nathan looked down again. So the whole city just salts everything? Claire shrugged. Apparently. Nathan gestured toward the street. And clears the roads with snowplows. Claire nodded. And everyone brushes their cars. Nathan laughed softly. Huh. They reached an intersection. Nathan noticed something else. Every building entrance had a small area just inside the door with rubber mats. He pointed. Wait. Claire looked. What? Nathan pointed through the glass door of a nearby building. Why do they all have those mats? A man exiting the building heard the question. For snow. Nathan tilted his head. Snow? The man nodded. You stomp your boots before going inside. Nathan blinked. Oh. Claire smiled. That's smart. The man laughed. Otherwise you track snow everywhere. Nathan nodded slowly again. So there's like a whole system. The man grinned. Yep. Nathan looked around the street again. Snowplows, salt, car brushes, boot mats, everyone moving confidently through the cold. He exhaled slowly. Wow. Claire smirked. What? Nathan shook his head. From inside the cafe this morning, it looked like a winter postcard. Claire nodded. And now? Nathan gestured around. Now it looks like a winter operation. Claire laughed. Yeah. Nathan zipped his parka a little higher. Snow isn't just snow here. Claire smiled. Nope. Nathan glanced down the busy winter street again. It's like a daily system people just know how to run. By the time Nathan and Claire reached the next street corner, they had already been outside for nearly 40 minutes. Nathan stopped walking and stretched his arms inside the bulky parka. Okay, he said slowly. This coat is doing a lot of work. Claire laughed. Imagine if you were still wearing your fall jacket. Nathan shook his head. I would have been back in the cafe permanently. They crossed the street carefully, stepping over small piles of snow that had been pushed to the side by the plows. Nathan looked around again. Everyone on the street seemed comfortable, not happy exactly, but completely used to it. A man walked past them carrying a grocery bag with one hand while sipping coffee with the other like the temperature didn't exist. Nathan watched him go. Seriously? Claire followed his gaze. What? Nathan pointed. That guy is drinking iced coffee. Claire squinted. No way. Nathan laughed. Who drinks iced coffee in this weather? Just then a taxi pulled up next to the curb. The driver leaned out the window. You folks looking for a ride? Nathan smiled. Actually, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. They got into the back seat, brushing snow off their coats. The warmth inside the taxi felt incredible. Nathan sighed. Oh, wow. The driver chuckled. First winter visit? Nathan laughed. Is it really that obvious? The driver glanced at them in the mirror. You asked about iced coffee. Claire burst out laughing. Nathan shook his head. Okay, fair. The taxi pulled away from the curb. Nathan looked out the window at the snowy streets passing by. Can I ask you something? The driver nodded. Sure. Nathan gestured toward the sidewalks. How do people live like this every year? The driver laughed softly. What do you mean? Nathan leaned forward slightly. I mean, the snow, the ice, the cold, brushing cars, snow plows everywhere. Claire added, and survival jackets. The driver smiled. Ah. Nathan waited. The driver shrugged casually. You don't fight winter here. Nathan frowned slightly. What does that mean? The driver tapped the steering wheel thoughtfully. You adapt. Nathan looked at Claire, then back at the driver. Adapt how? The driver pointed at Nathan's parka. You bought the right coat. Nathan nodded. Yeah. The driver continued. You get the right boots, the right tires, you salt the sidewalks. Claire leaned forward. So it's all preparation? The driver nodded. Exactly. Nathan thought about the man brushing snow off his car. And the car brushing thing? The driver laughed. That's just common sense after your first mistake. Nathan chuckled. Let me guess. Snow sliding onto your windshield? The driver pointed. Yep. Nathan shook his head. That would scare me to death. The driver smiled. Everyone learns once. They stopped at a red light. Nathan looked outside again. People walked calmly through the snow with their collars up and hats pulled down. Nobody looked surprised. Nobody looked dramatic about it. Claire spoke quietly. It's like everyone just knows what to do. The driver nodded. Because we've been doing it our whole lives. Nathan leaned back in his seat. The driver continued. Winter here isn't something special. Nathan looked up. What do you mean? The driver shrugged. It's just life. Nathan smiled slowly. I think that's what surprised me. The driver glanced in the mirror. How so? Nathan laughed. From inside a cafe window this morning. It looked magical. Claire nodded. Like a snow globe. The driver chuckled. And now? Nathan looked outside again. Snowplows clearing roads, people brushing off cars, sidewalks covered with salt, locals moving confidently through the cold. Nathan exhaled slowly. Now it looks like a system. The driver nodded. That's exactly what it is. Nathan adjusted his hat slightly. So the trick is not fighting winter. The driver smiled. Right. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. You just adapt. Later that evening, Nathan and Claire stepped out of a small grocery store carrying a bag of snacks and hot drinks. The sky had already turned dark, and the streetlights reflected off the snow, making the entire street glow with a soft white shine. Nathan adjusted the thick parka around his shoulders. You know what's weird? Claire glanced over. What? Nathan took a careful step onto the snowy sidewalk. I'm not panicking about the cold anymore. Claire laughed. Because you're wearing half the insulation section of that clothing store. Nathan grinned. True. He lifted one boot and stomped lightly on the ground. Crunch. Also, these boots are incredible. Claire nodded. Yeah, those were a good investment. They started walking slowly toward their hotel. Nathan noticed something interesting. The cold was still there. The air still had that sharp bite. But now it didn't feel shocking. It felt manageable. Nathan exhaled slowly, watching his breath turn into a cloud. Huh. Claire raised an eyebrow. What now? Nathan gestured around the street. I think I get it. Claire tilted her head. Get what? Nathan pointed across the road. A man was brushing snow off his car with a long snow brush. Nearby, another person carefully spread salt along the sidewalk in front of a small shop. A snowplow rumbled slowly down the street again in the distance. Nathan shrugged. Everyone just knows what to do. Claire nodded. Yeah. Nathan continued walking. Earlier that day, he had thought the winter scene looked magical. Now he noticed the quiet efficiency behind it. People weren't struggling. They were simply prepared. A couple walked past them wearing thick scarves and laughing about something. Nathan watched them for a moment. Look at them. Claire turned. What? Nathan pointed subtly. They're just casually walking around. Claire smiled. That's normal here. Nathan shook his head in disbelief. This morning I thought people were crazy. Claire laughed. You did say that. Nathan chuckled. I thought Canadians were overreacting to winter. Claire smirked. And now? Nathan raised his gloved hands. Now I respect the system. Claire laughed again. System? Nathan nodded. Yeah. He gestured toward the street again. The gear, the snowplows, the salted sidewalks, brushing cars, all of it. Claire nodded thoughtfully. Yeah. It's kind of impressive. Nathan stopped walking for a moment and looked down the long snowy street. The lights, the quiet snowfall, the steady rhythm of people moving through the cold. It suddenly looked different from how it had that morning. Not just pretty, organized, adapted. Nathan spoke quietly. You know what's funny? Claire looked at him. What? Nathan smiled. I thought winter was just weather. Claire tilted her head. And? Nathan gestured toward the entire scene around them. Here it's like part of the culture. Claire nodded slowly. That's actually a good way to describe it. Nathan laughed softly. Yeah. They resumed walking toward the hotel. A small gust of wind blew snow across the street again. Nathan instinctively pulled his scarf a little higher. Claire noticed. Look at you. Nathan frowned. What? Claire grinned. You just did the Canadian winter adjustment. Nathan laughed. Did I? Claire nodded. You didn't even think about it. Nathan shrugged. Well? He glanced down at his heavy boots and thick coat. I guess I adapted. Claire smiled. Exactly. Nathan looked back down the snowy street one more time. Earlier that morning, he had sat in a warm café, staring out a window and thinking, winter here looked easy. Now he understood something different. Canadians weren't immune to winter. They had simply mastered living with it. Nathan shook his head with a small smile. Seriously, though. Claire looked at him. What? Nathan laughed. I'm never coming to Canada again without a parka.